Hey everybody, I'm Ben,
And I'm Sierra.
and we're here doing an episode of The Unsolved Couple, where we dive into a show that people used to like, maybe still like, and that's what started them into the world of true crime. Is that right?
Unsolved Mysteries.
There you go.
Thanks for that introduction, babe.
You're welcome.
I
I
thought
thought
it'd be-
it was
I
very
thought it
well
would be
done.
fun to mix it up a little bit.
Here's the thing. I'm going to tell everybody this. It's going to come as a surprise, but I didn't have a script for that.
That was
That
professional podcast improv.
that was off the hip, just shooting from the hip,
Yeah.
like Clint Eastwood.
I don't know who that is.
All right, but yeah,
I'm going to guess he was a gunslinger from the Old West.
Oh my word,
You were watching that show on Netflix.
Clint Eastwood. Why are we even having this conversation? Move on. I was just trying to tell people I came up with that on my own.
On the fly. Like
On the
Marty
fly.
Fly from Back to the Future. Did you get that reference?
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of that, my dad called me today.
I know, that's why I said that.
Yeah. Wait, but that's not who we were talking about, right?
You see what I deal with, people? Yes, Clint Eastwood. He was the actor. We talked about him in the Alcatraz episode.
Shoot, my dad's going to be real mad.
He played in westerns.
Clint Eastwood. So yeah, my dad called me today about him. I looked it up. I don't know why I was thinking you were talking about somebody from one of your
That's 'cause-
Wild Earp show you're
because
watching.
I was finishing watching the Wyatt Earp and the Cowboy War documentary on
Yeah. So
Netflix.
sorry, I wasn't super paying attention.
That's
to-
so shocking. I am shocked by that statement.
So I thought that you were making a reference because that's what they did. And we've been to the OK Corral and everybody draws from the hip and shoots everybody else.
Okay. All right.
Any hoozles, my dad called me today and was disappointed. I'm a disappointment to my family because my lack of knowledge
Of Clint Eastwood.
of Clint Eastwood.
And your dislike for westerns.
I don't like Westerns. And do you remember that movie you took me to see? What was it? With the seven something?
The Magnificent Seven.
Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
I sat through that whole movie.
I've taken Sierra to 2 westerns in our entire marriage. Do you know the 2 I've taken you
I
to?
don't even remember. I don't think I remember the other one.
The Magnificent Seven
Uh-huh.
and True Grit. When they redid True Grit, which
Yeah.
it wasn't as good as the original.
Never saw the original.
John
So
Wayne
I
one.
was unaware of how that movie ended. And spoiler alert, the horse dies in the end. So I was not privy to that knowledge. And I watched this whole movie, and this horse plays a really important role at the end and like helps save the little girl or something, right? And then it dies because it exhausted itself so much.
But it doesn't. He shoots it.
Okay, see, this is why I don't like Westerns. It's just nothing about that story was fun for anyone. I apologize to the people who have to listen to this because we had to talk about the passing of a fake horse on a movie.
Yeah.
Let's all take a moment of silence.
That's okay. Anyways,
Yeah, so my dad was... So I looked up Mr. Eastwood. The only movie I actually have seen is the one about the boxer. He's like a boxing coach to a girl.
okay.
I think that $1 Million Baby, something like that. That's the only one I've ever seen.
Yeah, you
And
got
my-
it too.
He sent me a list or a movie of something I'm supposed to watch.
She won't. She will not watch.
I don't even remember what it was called.
No.
So
No, I just go and see westerns by myself.
Yeah.
Or I mean, it's I just do that because I know that if trying to sit through a movie with you like that.
Yeah, or trying to take me to an Avengers movie at this point because
I'm not
those
really-
storylines
I'm not
are
really
more
into the Avenger
complicated
movies,
and make
so we don't really watch
less
those.
sense than Star Wars does.
Yes, but here's the problem. Okay, people. So our son is into the Avenger movies. And he's watching the Avenger, one of them, the other night. And Sierra comes in, and it's 20 minutes, and she's not seen any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts just firing questions about what's going on.
None of this makes any sense.
But that's the point. It doesn't make sense because you don't watch them and you don't know. And then you don't care, which is fair. But she is just bombarding our son with questions while he's trying to watch the movie.
He eventually just paused it and finished watching it later.
Yeah, he paused it and walked away and didn't come back and tried to watch it another day.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he's into it. It's almost at the end. So Sierra's only seen 20 minutes of this movie and starts bombarding him with
when
questions
I were watching
again.
it with him the other day, these people were bad. And then at the end, they were fighting with the Avengers.
But you don't know what's going
So
on and you don't care.
The only question
So
I asked
why
was,
do you
are these
even
the
care
good?
to
Are they
know
on the
what's-
good team now?
All right.
Anyways, let's get back to why we're all here, which is to talk about season 1, episode 21 of Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, I
hold
can't
on
wait.
real quick. I wanted to see where we had downloads at today. This,
Okay.
you guys, I am obsessed with this. Okay. Brooklyn, New York. Shout out to Brooklyn.
That's our first one from Brooklyn, New York.
Yep. We've had New York City.
Okay.
Okay, but this is our first Brooklyn, New York.
Now
so
it's even narrowing it down. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And here's the thing. I love Brooklyn.
Okay.
It's one of, I said this about Nashville. It's one of my favorite places. I love that city.
I think you say that about every
I
city
know.
we bring up.
Rayville, Louisiana. No clue where that's at in Louisiana, but I'm hoping it's a tiny little cute town. Milwaukee, Oregon. That's up by Portland, eh?
Are you Canadian now?
No.
A?
And Los Angeles, California.
Our first one from there.
Oh, well, I sure hope not.
We just named the two biggest cities.
New York City and Los Angeles. We have, well, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, right? So, which speaking of Los Angeles, they're having a rough go right now, and we hope that everyone is safe, and we're grateful for first responders and law enforcement and firefighters that are out there helping combat the wildfires out there. So
we're on episode 21.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great idea.
Okay.
Okay. We're almost done with season 1.
We are.
And what I think we should do is remember when television was on from September till May.
We are
and you
not
took
taking a
3-month
break,
hiatus?
Ben. No.
I think we should stay true. We've done an episode a week.
Uh-huh.
We should go on our summer hiatus and take
In
a
January.
3-month break. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'll be February by the time. And we can take a break. And then we can all rest our weary
The
minds
little
from
amount of movement
unsolved
that we've had
mysteries.
in downloads, and I mean, we're popping off in Brooklyn and LA.
We made it in LA and Brooklyn.
If we stop this momentum now, then we'll never get it back.
I'm sure we can get it back. Trust me.
All right. Anyways, no, Ben, we won't be taking any time off. We're actually, and Ben agreed to this
here's what
before
we
he
could do.
started, was we were going to do a full year,
Here's what we could do.
52
We
episodes.
could do reruns. We could put out reruns.
Just like they did.
Yeah,
during
exactly. Not
We're
in
going to do
order.
52 episodes before we evaluate and decide what our schedule is next.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. It's just a thought. Maybe people can weigh in. I think
If
it's a
you
great
don't
idea.
want us to do this anymore, If we start getting
It's a
emails
thought.
from people saying, yes, please, we are being forced and obligated by friendship or family connection to download this.
Nah, we don't care about them.
No. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story of a young girl. She's 18-year-old. Her name was Lisa Kimmel. Kimmell. Her nickname was Little Miss.
Little Miss.
Yep. This story was featured on Unsolved Mysteries, but it was also featured on Forensics Files. So I did watch both. I'll be recapping, obviously, the Unsolved Mysteries, but I did get some extra information from that episode, as well as some research that I did on the side. So, and again, and Ben, same problem. This story, the way it's told, was very confusing. They don't follow timelines. This one and the third story that I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do my best to tell it like Unsolved Mystery, but I have rearranged a few things just for clarity purposes to make things a little bit easier to understand. So 18-year-old Lisa Marie worked as a manager of a fast food restaurant in Denver, Colorado. Sometime after she clocked out of work about 4:30 on Friday, March 25th, 1988, she left to go visit, aka she was actually picking up her boyfriend, but who lived in Cody, Wyoming. After that, she and her boyfriend had planned to travel to Billings, Montana to visit her parents. They were actually all meeting there for a skiing trip. So,
Okay.
when she left, she was driving her black 1988, so brand spanking new Honda CRX. And her sister was interviewed on the Forensics Files, and she kind of just talked about how much her sister loved this car. She had a personalized license plate that said Little Miss on it.
Little Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Lilmiss.
Yeah. And so I guess she had worked very hard, saved up money, and paid for this car herself. So this was her big first independent adult purchase. Cool car. Do you know what a CRX looks like?
Well, I saw it in the thing, and yes, I know.
You know, okay. Well, you didn't comment on how cool the car was, so I just wasn't sure if you were aware that it was a cool car.
I don't think it's a cool car.
Oh, all right. Okay, well, we just lost all of our CRX listeners.
Well, you'd think it's a cool car.
I do.
And I don't.
So
I'm just trying to keep true to the theme of this podcast. You like something, I don't like something.
I know people probably, by the time they've listened to 21 episodes, wonder how we're happily married.
We are very happily married.
So she had actually planned to travel on Interstate 25. Okay. And at that partway through her thing, then she'd veer off onto a 2-lane road to Cody. From my understanding, it's extreme. I mean, this is middle of nowhere country, Wyoming. Very desolate. Weather conditions were good, so she should have made it to her boyfriend's house in about 8 hours, or arriving sometime late Friday night. However, she never did. So the next morning, her boyfriend actually starts calling around to several highway patrols in the area. March 28th, 2 days later, the Wyoming Highway Patrol told him that she was actually stopped for speeding 60 miles south of Casper at around 9 p.m. on Friday night. She was going 88 in a 55. So
yeah,
that CRX can move.
She was she was opening it up.
Well, I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere. Might as well.
Yeah, I know. This is how Sierra drives in the middle of nowhere. We were driving to Utah. How long ago?
Just a few weeks ago.
Okay, and we drive. You got to drive through the reservation on the north through is it Moab?
Yeah.
And it's a 2-lane, and there's not a soul in
There's
sight.
nothing.
And I look over, and Sierra's going 95 miles an hour, just hauling.
Okay, through the reservation though, and I don't know why their roads do this. It's really wavy, And if you're driving like 90 on that, it's so fun.
It's not fun at all. But then guess who got pulled over?
I also got pulled over. But you know what? I also smiled and was very kind. And guess what?
Well, that was actually in Utah. You
Yeah,
got
on the
pulled
way
over
home.
in Utah.
Yeah, I got pulled over. And the highway patrolman was very nice. The moment he like saw me in the passenger seat with a bunch of kids all half asleep.
You were not in the passenger seat.
I mean, I was the driver's seat, yeah. He gave me a big old grin and was very nice about it the whole time. So,
anyways, keep going.
the stop occurred about 4 hours after she left home. So, according to that, she was actually right on schedule. This was about her halfway point.
Okay.
And the reason we actually know that it was for sure her, and this is important, is that one, she signed her citation, and two, the police officer at the time, or the highway patrolman, had a voice recording of his stop, and the family verified that that was her voice. So we know it was her. At this point on Unsolved Mysteries, the mom comes in and is interviewed, and these are always hard, but this mom is saying that it's been about a week, or about a week mark, they start losing hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that she doesn't care if it's just a body. She wants her daughter found so that they can do what they need to do. And the mom just was, it was heartbreaking to watch her give this interview. So 1 week later, April 2nd, mechanic Greg Bradford was walking along the North Platte River in Casper when he discovered Lisa's partially nude body floating in the water.
What day was that?
April 2nd.
Okay.
1 week later. Because it had been so cold, her body hadn't had any signs of decomposition. And this does come up at some point, and it even comes up later on because it made it really difficult to know when she had actually passed away, what the time of death was. An autopsy revealed that she had been beaten, bound, and sexually assaulted before she had been murdered. She had been stabbed 6 times in what the police tell us was a unique fashion.
Yeah, they don't tell us how.
Yeah, it sounds like they were trying to withhold that information because it would have been something that only the killer would have known.
Yeah.
On a bridge about a quarter-mile away, authorities found Lisa's blood. So this was like a trestle, and like a bridge. I don't think that was very used very often.
Said it wasn't very used a lot.
Yeah. It was seldom used, and it was believed that her killer was local because it was technically inaccessible. It wasn't easy to get there.
You would have to know how to get there.
Mm-hmm. Eyewitnesses who lived near the bridge did report seeing a car there early on the morning of Saturday, March 26th, though based on that, they were estimating that she had passed away. And this is where the mystery starts to kind of come in, is that if that had been the case, that means that she would have been murdered within a few hours of meeting that police officer or the highway patrolman. Along with other evidence, investigators start to believe that she had been, killed earlier that morning, about 5 hours after being stopped for speeding. Strangely, during the next several days, thousands, which is crazy, of sightings come flooding into this local police
pretty much
department.
The entire state of Wyoming.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good point. Throughout northwestern United States and all the way up into Canada, she's being seen everywhere.
Everywhere.
So several of the witnesses reported to her seen with an unidentified man, and the police officer tells us there was no rhyme or reason. There was no pattern. There was no following a map to where these spottings were going. All over the place. On top of that, composites are made of 17 different men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they say,
none of them seem to resemble each other. So it just seems to very quickly turn into a cluster.
It spirals out of control.
Very quickly.
Are you going to tell the 3 people they interviewed that did see her?
Yes, I'm going to get to that.
Okay, all right. Because
So
the last guy's my favorite.
I have some quotes from him.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I wrote a couple things down.
So this is where I'm going to give a quick little caveat. When I watched the Forensics Files episode, obviously done several years later, I get a little background. So the police department that her body was found in was a very tiny, underfunded police department. In fact, we get an interview from the main guy on the case. I didn't even write his name down. I can't remember it. Several people that he worked with and her family begged him multiple times because they were getting all of this information and not really knowing what to do with it to bring in the FBI and state law enforcement. And he refused. To the point where someone who works, what's the department of with the alcohol and firearms?
ATF.
The ATF. To the point where someone from the ATF finally, after an attempted suicide from this police officer, ended up him in the hospital. The ATF came in and took over this for some reason, or the retired ATF guy that was interviewed. They started to suspect that he was the guy who had killed this girl because he was so staunch on stonewalling any outside help to solve this. And he was cleared.
He was.
Yeah, he was cleared. But I just thought I'd point that out, that things were unraveling very quickly with all of these sightings. And it's unfortunate that he, for some reason, did not want help kind of trying to organize this or anything at all like that. Okay. However, so we are told there are 3 sightings that they
Unsolved
consider...
Mysteries says there's 3
Unsolved
that they
Mysteries
think are pretty good.
That they deem the most reliable. And they come in on March 26th and March 27th. And what day did she leave home? Just so we're here, March 25th. So
and they think that she died on the 26th.
Exactly.
The early morning hours of the 26th.
So this is where, in Unsolved Mysteries, they give us these 3 sightings, not in any particular order, and with hardly any information on like exact location and time. I'm going to give them to you in chronological order because that makes sense to me in my brain.
All right.
So the first sighting was in Casper, just 20 minutes from where Lisa's body was found. The other 2 are in Buffalo, which is about a 2-hour drive. Okay? Strangely, in all of these sightings, no one seems to think that she looked distressed or signaled for any sort of help.
Okay.
Donna Kirkpatrick, the county sheriff's wife in Buffalo, reported that she had seen Lisa wearing a pink sweater. She recalls that around noon on March 26th, Lisa pulled in front of her, driving her car. The reason this stood out to her is, 1, the plates were from Montana, and it had the signature Little Miss on it.
That's personalized license
Personalized
plate?
license plate, that's going to stick in someone's memory, right? Okay. Sighting number 2. 2 hours after that sighting, another eyewitness also saw her in Buffalo. This time, a mysterious man was with her. The witness, a cashier at the service station,
This guy was awesome.
saw her pull up in a car. He noticed the license plate again, Little Miss, on the front plate. He saw 2 people inside, Lisa and an unidentified man. He used the word...
So this is our game.
Yeah.
Remember we started this game last time. What crazy word are they using?
Yeah. But this was from someone that was interviewed, not from like Robert Stack.
I know, but it doesn't matter. Still the game. Okay.
Okay. Did you look up what it means?
No. Why would
Oh,
I
I
don't
did.
care. But
Okay, what's the word?
well, I have 3 words
Okay.
that we use.
All right, you go ahead.
First is, I actually don't know if he said it, but I wrote it down. deluge.
Deluge.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know
but
what it
someone used it
Okay.
earlier. But then he tells us that he had... was he talking about his eyes or his nose?
His nose.
An aquiline.
Aquiline.
And he then says, I think that's the term the poets use. That's what he said.
I know. What a niche.
But
what a
clearly
niche
there's-
thing to say. I think
Clearly
that's
he
how
reads
the
a lot of
poets
poetry.
Yeah, which, you know what, for a gas station attendant in the middle of Montana,
No, but this guy's
that's
like...
cool.
He's in his 50s or 60s.
Mhm.
He was a pretty cool dude.
Yeah. So I looked up what that word means.
Okay, what does it mean?
Curved like an eagle's beak. So
Well,
he had like
you know
a
what? That's
hooked
pretty
nose
good
or a
description
I kn-
word.
I know.
I'm here for it. This guy's a very learned man.
Yeah.
Then, did you also hear what he said about his complexion?
What did he call it? Sallow? I can't remember.
He said it's a swirly complexion. Swirly complexion.
This guy.
And then the best I loved at the end
Uh-huh.
is he says he was small, that he fit into the car.
Yeah,
Whatever
this
that
guy
means.
threw some major shade at this guy, but did it in a way that was
in
like
a poet's way.
Yeah, exactly. So he says he notices the license plate and then does something, looks back, and the car is gone. So it doesn't seem like they came inside. Then the Casper sighting occurred around 1:45 the next day, March 27th. This is when Diana Hudson was driving downtown when she noticed a Montana car with the license plate Little Miss. She remembered it because her roommate actually owned a puppy with that same name. And she said that the driver had blonde hair and was wearing a yellow sweater. Unsolved Mysteries tells us that her parents don't believe that their daughter owned a pink or a yellow sweater, but they weren't living with her. So I don't know
I
how.
don't know if that holds a lot of weight.
Yeah,
But the police officer said when he pulled her over, she was wearing a black and white
a black
sweater.
and white sweater. So that's the
whatever that
information
means.
that we have.
All right.
So here's the questions Unsolved Mystery Robert leaves us with. Was she really killed on the morning of March 26? Question mark. If she was, then who was the woman seen driving her car in Casper and Buffalo? Question mark. If she was not killed on the 26th, why, when she was in Buffalo and 2 hours off course? Oh, why was she in? And if she was in danger, why didn't she ask for help?
These are all valid questions.
Well, she's
Because
the
her
victim
car
in this.
was never found. Well, it was found.
Finally, what happened to her car? So that's what I kept asking myself during the whole episode. They
Where's her
never
car?
mentioned that until like that final question. Her car at this point is nowhere to be seen, and it's a very identifiable car. Obviously,
it's a car Sierra wants.
I don't want one of those cars. They
You
were
don't?
cool. No, I don't want one.
Because I just bought you
No,
one.
you did not. Stop. Okay, are you ready for your update?
I am, and it's a sad one.
It is a sad
well,
one.
we already know she's been killed.
So in 2002, so it's solved actually at this point. So it's not, it's solved, but it wasn't solved due from a tip on Unsolved Mysteries.
No.
In 2002, DNA from Lisa's body, thank goodness, because this was in 1988. They talked about on the forensics files that the coroner actually ended up taking 2 days for the autopsy because he felt it was so important to preserve as much biological and physical evidence as he could.
Oh, good
He
for
did
him.
not know what they were going to be able to do with it, but he was aware enough that there was advancements being made.
Well,
Because
good
if
for
they
him.
hadn't done this, they would have never solved it.
Probably not, no.
Yeah. So DNA from her body was tested and placed into CODIS. And it was linked to a beak-nosed, sallow, short little man named Dale Eaton, who was serving a sentence in prison on an unrelated weapons charge. He had previously been convicted of kidnapping a family at gunpoint.
Yeah, I read that.
He was also charged with involuntary manslaughter in the death of his cellmate, but was acquitted. No further information on that. When questioned, his neighbors noted that around the time of Lisa's murder, he was digging a large hole on his property, about 75 miles west of Casper. When the property was searched in July of 2002, they found her car.
That was buried.
Buried.
I know, I read that.
That is nuts to go to that extreme.
Yeah.
And that's like, if this DNA evidence had never been found, I don't think anyone would have ever solved this, let alone found this car. It was determined, unfortunately, that she had actually been held in his home for 6 days prior
and that
to
just
her
made me
death.
sick to my stomach.
I know. This man is the epitome of garbage.
What?
He's worse than that. He's like the sludge at the bottom of the garbage can.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
When I read, because I read that too. Because if you actually look, it says now that on her, I think they changed her death to the 30th of March.
Yeah.
And then I read that he had held her for days.
Yeah. So my question is, do you think that any of those sightings were actually her?
I don't.
Do you think that, I mean, because here's the thing. To mistake a license plate seems...
Yeah,
do you think
I don't have an
he had
answer,
driven
but-
her car through town? I mean, it had to get to his house somehow.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of it. It's just more confusing. But at the end of the day, this guy did it, and he's a horrible human being,
100%.
and he deserves every horrible thing.
So did you
coming
look up
his
what
way.
he was doing for a living?
No, I think I missed
So
that.
this is where police theorize kind of what happened and why he was actually convicted of that kidnapping of the family. He had some sort of like tow/mechanic's car that had like the plates or the lights and stuff. He would drive along isolated parts of the highway, and he was known for pulling over to help people that were abandoned or stranded with their car on the side of the road, towing it into town, and then charging them an insane amount of money because they're in the middle of nowhere for him to like take and tow and fix their car. Wasn't a good guy.
Clearly. Everything about this guy is horrific.
Yeah.
And he deserves every bad thing coming.
Yeah.
He deserves every bad thing in the world.
The reason the kidnapping of a family was, it seems like he had pulled over because he saw a female outside of her car who was doing something, I think, in the trunk or whatever. He pulled up and started actually making like advances and grabbing her, and her husband came around. And he pulled a gun on them and like was trying to do something. And while he's in the middle of kidnapping these people at gunpoint, a police officer or highway patrolman drives by.
Man,
Thank
about luck.
goodness. Yeah. And so they believe that she might have even just pulled over as something simple to look at a map, or, you know, who knows, just double check where she was. This is obviously before GPS and phones and all of that. And that he rolled up on her, realized that it was an 18-year-old girl by herself, and took her. Which is...
It's terrible.
And it's terrible because people were out looking for her immediately.
I did read so that he was convicted of death.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at one point the only inmate in Wyoming on death row.
Yeah.
But then, of course...
Yeah, it's been overturned.
And
a judge found that he had received an inadequate defense at his trial, and that it's just been switched over to
life in prison.
Yeah,
which is too bad because he deserves the
The
death
one
penalty.
thing that I did note that I thought was probably just, I mean, the situation's terrible, but Lisa's parents took him to civil court and sued him for his property.
I did see that.
Yeah,
and they got
because she had been held and tortured there. Mm-hmm. So they got together with
I saw this.
the local fire department, and asked them to literally burn and smolder it to the ground. And so this city all got behind this family.
They did it on her birthday.
Did it on her birthday and went out there and allowed the family to come. And they used it as a quote unquote training exercise. And they sat there and watched that thing burn to the ground.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it would have been her 36th birthday. Yeah, so that is, and I will say, and I don't have a ton more information on this, but they are actually considering Eaton as a possible suspect in the Great Basin murders, which is a series of unsolved murders throughout the Pacific Northwest that took place between 83 and 96. He's also suspected of the disappearance of Amy Betchel. So, and investigations have determined that he was in the area or in the time of her disappearance, but no charges have been brought forth.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So he might be a serial
I
killer.
hope he rots.
Yeah.
Okay. Babe, what is...
We're going to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, we'll lighten it up a little bit before we get into...
Before we get into the last one?
The last one, yeah.
All right. We're going to talk about the Lost Dutchman Mine. It's right here in Arizona.
Yeah. It's
next
right
to
up the
Phoenix.
way.
Okay. But I wrote this down because I thought it was an important point.
Okay.
The music that they played to start this story out was pretty awesome.
I know if I was better at tech stuff, I would pull the music and play it for you guys because
It was from like a flute.
it was wild.
It was...
I would have expected gold panning to be like ding, 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 ding.
No. We got this.
But this was
flute
like a flute meditation.
Yeah.
Like what you'd expect if you were in Sedona in a salt crystal meditating with your third eye. Like it was...
With your what?
Third eye. It's a meditation thing.
Okay.
I wouldn't
that's
expect you
weird.
to understand.
Don't ever use that term again. Ever. Don't ever say that again.
I'm going to use it all the time now.
I refuse.
Okay.
Anyways, let's talk about the Lost Dutchman Mine. Okay. This is supposedly, it's got gold and it's in the Superstition.
There's gold in them hills. Yep.
It's in the Superstition Mountains. And that covers about, they say, 160,000 acres. I looked it up. It's just east of Phoenix.
Oh, it's east of Phoenix.
Yep.
Okay.
So I just was curious because I've never actually been to those
No, I've never
mountains.
been up there either, but we haven't done any hiking up in the Phoenix area.
No. All right. Jacob Walsh is the man. He supposedly discovered this mine in 1876. Okay. And he was known as the Dutchman. That's where I got his name.
I know, but what do you actually think of when someone says Dutchman?
SpongeBob,
Yeah.
the Dutchman, or well, isn't that in Pirates of the Caribbean too?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
the
the
Dutchman's a
Dutchman.
well-known pirate
It's a ship.
thingamajigger,
Yeah, it's a pirate ship.
but the Flying Dutchman, first off, I think that's a thing. It's a secret
pirate
menu
ship.
item that you can get at In-N-Out. The Flying Dutchman, it's 2 grilled onion like whole things with a patty in between. And SpongeBob SquarePants is the Dutchman, is the ghost guy that always is.
We're only saying that because our youngest, has been watching SpongeBob religiously lately. Mm-hmm. So he's really...
But we grew up watching SpongeBob.
I do love SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But every
it's
time they kept saying
hilarious.
Dutchman, it just seems so far. We're so far from the ocean. Arizona could not be more opposite of a coastline. And
Well,
so
Jacob Waltz was the Dutchman.
But yeah,
right?
he was the Dutchman for different reasons.
And
Nothing to
he's-
do with piracy.
He's out prospecting, okay? And this was my favorite quote because we get Tom Collenborn, and he's a historian prospector.
Okay.
And he's talking about the Superstition Mountains, and supposedly it's known to have gold, but supposedly Jacob Walsh is the only man to find gold there. But he says this, and I quote, "If you're going to go in these mountains anywhere and look for gold, you really want to go to places where gold has been found." Yes, people. So if you want to find gold, first go to where gold's been found. I was like,
And we'll get into it later, but don't go looking for gold here because it's not going to do you a lick of good anyways.
Don't go looking for gold in new places. Only go to looking for gold where it's been found.
Just piggyback on other people's work.
I had to rewind. I was like, did I just hear what I thought I heard? But yes, it is. Anyways, sorry. So Jacob Wall supposedly found a gold mine in the Superstition Mountains, but he didn't want to tell anybody. And about 20 years later, in 15 years later, 1891, he was 80, and he knows his life's coming. He supposedly covers up the gold mine.
Mm-hmm. With a bunch of rocks.
He digs a hole, he fills it with dirt, puts rocks over. He says that a pack train could roll over it.
No one's going to find this thing.
No one would know. Only he.
Well, I will say, I mean, he's kind of right.
Well, he's right if there's gold, okay? But he says only he knows.
Okay.
Okay? So he ends up in Phoenix, and Julia Thomas starts taking care of him because he's now dying.
Mm-hmm.
And he realized, I'm going to die. Now I got to tell my secret. Okay?
Yeah.
So Julia Thomas is sitting by his
bedside.
And I'm looking for that other
He
guy.
tells her to, like, look under his bed or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I am sitting next to a man who's dying and he tells me to lift up the blankets and look under his bed,
well,
I've seen enough horror films. I ain't doing it. No way and no how.
So she pulls this box out from under his bed, and it's got rocks with gold in it.
Yeah.
And she's amazed.
Uh-huh.
So Reinhard Petrach, I don't know. I couldn't say the last name. I spelled it, but I can't say it. He's supposedly a prospector, a miner. He's there with Julia, and he's trying to say, listen, only I can find it. I got to show you and tell you exactly where it is. But he's giving him all these clues.
Yeah.
Telling him where to find it. But he doesn't draw a map.
Nope.
But he's telling them.
He's telling them that clues that look like would be written on a treasure map.
Yeah. And then he says there's a big
cryptically talks about the sunset sparking the gold, but you have to look at it a certain direction. I would be so annoyed. I'd be like, just tell us, old man, where
sparkle made from this, and you can see this from this direction.
Yeah.
It was in the northeast corner. Yeah. All these crazy things.
Yeah, so they are given all of this cryptic clues, but said that he was going to take them there.
Yeah. But he doesn't.
He doesn't. He dies.
Never draws a map.
Nope.
So Julia, Reinhardt, and his brother Herman go out. They want to find it. They want to find it so bad they go out in the summertime.
Which is a terrible idea. Yeah.
For going out into the mountains in Phoenix area in
that
the summer.
is how you end up dead.
But they didn't end up dying.
No.
They went out there for 5 weeks. And searched. And they came back with nothing. Said that Julia went penniless. She pretty much spent everything she had.
Yeah, they spent everything they owned to spend these weeks out there.
And that Reinhardt and Herman accuses his brother of not paying attention to all the clues.
This would have been if someone gave me directions. About 5 seconds into it, I would have not been paying attention anymore, and then someone would get mad at me for like not focusing.
Yeah,
it blows. These two, they're cousins, aren't they? Or are they brothers?
They're brothers.
Oh,
they are brothers, and Herman is so mad at his brother that he didn't pay it. He says you didn't pay attention enough to his clues. To the point where they never spoke again.
They never talked to
each
other again because someone didn't pay attention.
Well, but then Reinhardt continues throughout his life to try to find this.
Yeah.
To the point where he realizes as he gets old, he's never going to find it. and he commits suicide.
Yeah, he takes his own life, which is not a laughing matter. But
No.
I am also like, good night, guys. You didn't. If this wasn't like you lost your fortune and everything fell apart. This wasn't yours. You didn't have anything.
But I thought about this. Why? Here's a man who had dedicated his life thinking, I'm going to find this. This is what you've used to define yourself, and you failed at it to the point where you've now lost relationships.
Yeah.
Probably some of your most. You're probably sitting there in your old age realizing, I've accomplished nothing, I've done nothing, and I've failed at what I
Maybe I
thought would
focused on the
define
wrong
myself.
things.
Yeah, and then realizing, anyways, this isn't a story about life thought processes, okay? Let's move on. Anyway, so supposedly a bunch of people have said that they've gone out looking for it. Then we supposedly hear some people have claimed that they found it, but have died before they could tell us where it is.
Yeah,
Of
apparently
course.
it's like
Of
cursed,
course.
like the tombs of Egypt or something, because everyone that says that they find it meets a demise.
Anyway, so there's one man recently, aka Unsolved Mysteries recently. the
Yeah, not
80s.
recently as of today. Recently as of 1980 something.
80s.
Yeah.
His name is Walt Gassler.
Okay.
He claims that he found it. And he called his friend Bob Corbin, who was the attorney general for Arizona at the time, and says, hey, I've got all the clues. I think I've figured this out. I got maps. I got all this stuff. And then one night he calls Tom Cullenborn, the guy that said, if you want to find gold, you got to find it where other people have already found it. He calls him.
They're
and
like,
says, hey,
this guy gave me a great idea. We got to bring him in on this.
yeah. He calls him and says, listen, I found the mine. 100% I found it. You need to come with me tomorrow and I'll show you. And he's like, listen, I can't.
I
can't
couldn't
come.
possibly.
I couldn't possibly
If
go
someone
and find
called me
gold.
and said, hey, Sierra, you know that treasure that everyone's been looking for? I for sure found it. But you have to come with me. Drop everything. You know what? Not even tomorrow. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Do you
You'd
know
be
what
there.
I would do?
You'd be there.
I would be there. So this makes the story uncredible to me.
I wouldn't. I'd be like, no, dude, you're out of your mind.
Okay, well, call me. If anyone finds a treasure, call me. I will come with you.
So no one goes with Walt. His wife drops him off and says, I'll be back in 3 days. He's
So
got his
what
pack.
doesn't even come with him.
No, he's got his pack. He leaves. And some ranch
She's
hands.
probably so sick and tired of taking him up to that dang mountain and dropping him off.
Well, she drops him off.
For the last time.
3 days later, a ranch hand comes across him and he's leaning up against a rock, dead.
I will say, it
He
seems
died of
as
a
if
heart
he had a
attack.
heart attack. So it wasn't like he met foul play.
No.
He was climbing up and from what it looks like, this does not look like an easy area to access.
Yeah. So he finds him, passed away. Obviously, sheriffs come out, all that stuff. Well, Tom now, our historian, who doesn't want to find gold unless it's been found already.
Except if it's inconvenient for a time for him to go.
Yeah. He said it was a while later, someone comes to his office or something and says, hey, listen, I'm Walt's son. So I've been meaning to come here, but my dad, he
left all of his clues and paperwork and
says,
journals.
don't you have his map? He's
Yeah.
and he says, no, I don't have his map, but I have his notes.
Yeah.
And he shows it. He's like, yep, that's my dad's notes. And he then actually pulls out a rock with gold in it. And he says, where did you find this? He goes, it was in my dad's backpack. He goes, oh, okay, well, great.
Once again, the guy that said you should only look for gold if you can find it just hands over this paperwork to this guy with no desire to go out and look for it himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gives it to him, to Walt's son, supposedly. Well, a few months later, a few weeks later, he's doing, at least in the reenactment, he's doing some seminar or some teaching. Gets done. A guy walks up and says, hey, I'm Walt's son, and uses the same name. And the guy's like, what are you? Roland.
Roland, yeah.
Roland. He goes, I'm Roland Gassler.
Yeah, and he's like, I've met a few of you
and he
lately.
goes, well, you're the second Roland Gassler I've met.
Yeah.
The guy shows him his driver's
Yeah,
license.
this guy actually seems to be.
And guy
this
shows him
guy's
his
son.
driver's
Yeah.
license. He goes, well, I already gave all your dad's stuff to this
Whoopsie
stranger. And I gave him this great advice that if he wanted to find gold, to go somewhere where gold's already been found.
Yeah, let me leave you with some parting wisdom.
Yeah. Well, let me give you a little nugget of
Oh, good one,
of
babe.
wisdom here. Anyways, so Roland, well, he says, now my dad didn't have any gold in his backpack because someone already stole it. So I guess the ranch hand said that when he did find Walt that day, he saw a stranger in the area.
But he also said he saw the backpack. So he knows at one point there was a backpack there. But in the police report or whatever, all the stuff that was gathered, the backpack was missing.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
So someone out there pretended to be Walt's son just to try to get clues because prospectors is cut.
Dude, they are no joke, which is crazy to me why that these three buddies were like kind of looking together, but actually only one of them was doing all of the work.
Yeah. Anyways, we did find out that the federal government then decided to
It's funny that the attorney general was actually one of these three guys originally.
But he's the attorney general for the state, not the U.S.
Oh, this is federal.
The federal government now says the Superstition Mountains are
they belong to us now. We claim them.
They're a historical area. So if gold is found there, guess who gets to keep it?
Claimed an entire mountain range as a historical area.
It's just they do it all over the place.
I know, but so no one go look for that gold because if you find it, the government gets to take it. The government gets it.
Yeah,
which ticks me off. Get out of here, government.
All right, so I did a little bit of research.
Okay.
Here's your update. You're all going to be shocked.
It's never been found.
It's never been found.
I'd actually heard about this, I think shortly after us moving here. People, because I was like prospecting and mining, it's a thing here. And maybe it's other places. I had just never really heard about it growing up in Oregon. But it's a big deal here. Putting claims on stuff like the whole history of mining and all of that. There are mine shafts and claims all over the deserts around here.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
So, yeah. But no, this one's never been found. I swear once the federal government got involved, everyone's like, what's the point?
But
why would you go up there and look around for it?
I look like there's stuff called the Lost Dutchman Trailhead, all kinds of stuff. It definitely has leaned into that. I was thinking because they interview somebody and they are from, where did I wrote this down. The Superstition Mountains Historical Society.
A society or
society? Society.
Mm-hmm.
Society, whatever, however you want to say that word.
The correct way is society.
And it's this older gentleman talking. He's
it always
telling
is. Is there a young person ever that works for a society?
And you know what I was thinking? I was like, man, there are so many. You can just create an organization that people can then just, you know what, I'm going to volunteer for this and talk about it all the time.
Yeah. So
everywhere.
Our youngest son enjoys gems and rocks and stuff like that. I think it's pretty common for, did you just suck your straw?
I'm
so
out of water.
Much that
I'm out of water.
I'm sorry, guys. I apologize for the behemoth. You're such a butthead. Stop. Anyways, so we took him to the Gem and Mineral Museum in downtown Tucson. He was very excited. There was a moon rock there on display. That's why. And he's also, oh yeah, karma, huh? And we went to see the moon rock. The people that work there.
Here's the thing.
They're all volunteers. They're all older. But like there was a guy, and there were several that has like doctorates degrees in geology, which was the kids loved it. We went with our homeschool group. They asked so many questions. He was very kind. And then he was very excited to show the kids throughout the whole museum multiple things that were his personal collection that he had put on loan to the museum. I was like, man, being retired is where it is at, because you can lean into whatever you're into.
Well, that's what I was thinking about when I saw this. I was like, man, when I retire, I just want to go be part of a society.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Grumpy Old Men Society.
Yes. Sit on my porch in my rocking chair.
You guys
society.
never meet with each other because you actually hate group settings.
Well, we look at each other from afar and we yell at each other. We yell things at each other. I want to be a part of that society.
Okay, you ready for story number 3?
Yep, give it to me.
This one, again, feel free to ask questions because it's a little confusing.
I watched it a second time. It's a little clearer.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't do a very good job telling
So this is a story about Thomas. Hotard. Yeah. And
Hotard.
Audrey Moat. I think that's how they pronounce it. Moate. Moat. Louisiana Bayou County. Once again, the music's awesome because instead of it being Louisiana music, it's like classical.
Well, it's old 50s music.
Yeah.
Because this is when it took place in the 50s.
Yeah. Just west of New Orleans on the morning of November 25th, 1956 at 9 a.m. A local hunter, this was the best part of this whole...
This was the best part.
A local hunter is out with his young son on Saturday morning and comes across...
They're out for a hunt.
Yeah. That's what I said. Local hunter is out. They come across a parked car.
Next to the water.
With a couple of, quote, lovebirds. In an isolated area of the swamps.
And here's what the boy saw.
Yeah.
He saw the hand go smack. On the window.
And the condensation dripped down as the hand went down.
And the hand just moves down slowly.
But the reenactment on this says to his dad, the actor says, "What are they doing in there, Pa?" And he goes, "Never you mind, son." That's awesome. Okay, so this, shocking to no one, was actually known as a local lover's lane. Okay, so
they were kissing.
That is exactly, holding hands and necking.
Necking.
They were necking each other.
All right, don't use that term again. Okay.
So, the next morning, November 25th, the same father and son go out again for a hunting thing. And unfortunately, they're going to escalate this to the next level because they find the man dead from a gunshot wound fired at close range through the rear window of the car. This poor dad.
Shotgun.
By a shotgun. This poor dad probably just had to explain birds and bees
to his son.
Now, him and his son come across a man that's been shot in the head with a shotgun.
Yeah.
They probably like, we're done hunting. We're done. We're not doing this anymore. So, however, there's no sign of Audrey, right? Like, the only thing they find is evidence that she had fled the scene. Because there was footprints in the mud with like larger footprints behind it. The man, unfortunately, was deceased. 46-year-old Thomas Hotart. The female that had been with him the day before was 31-year-old, and I love that they do this to all of the women, divorced mother of 3. Okay, here's the thing. They did not upfront give us the full information on Thomas, but they gave us all of the information on her. Okay? Yeah. So,
he's married.
Okay, yeah. That's the thing is, they don't mention that in this actual episode.
They say it later.
At the very end.
Well, not the very, but they.
Pretty close.
It goes on.
We go through most of the story before they slip in there that he was married. Yeah.
Well, because here's the best part.
Because don't you think they could have said 46-year-old married Thomas,
Married not to
not
Aubrey.
to
Is
Audrey.
it Aubrey or
Audrey, yeah. That's going to be her. We have a wonderful sister-in-law named Aubrey, and this is Audrey. But every time I see like that first little part, that's where my mind goes.
Well, because they then say he was this. They go explain him that he's an engineer or something?
Yeah.
And he's a family man. Like, time out.
Okay. So, and again, they only say family man, but not to another family. It was so confusing.
No, they do say that right there. He was married.
Mm-hmm.
They say he was married. They explain that there when they're talking about, but then how he's he's into scouts. That was a big thing.
A church going,
scouts, family
we just
man.
missed the word adulterist in there.
Yeah,
Adulter.
Yeah. Kind of missed that.
But they loved to throw in that this woman was divorced.
With 3 kids.
Yeah. Okay. So this woman, Audrey, has not been seen as of that recording in 32 years. This is where our mystery is.
That's your mystery.
Yeah.
And the murder.
And the murder. Yeah, there's a lot of mysteries here. So Audrey's daughter comes on to say that my mother told my grandmother, if anything happens to me, take the kids and get as far away from here as possible. Okay?
I'm going to get sidetracked here again.
Okay?
How many people say this to people? What? Why? How many people
are you asking that rhetorically because it seems to pop up a lot on these episodes?
It pops up a lot.
And have you ever had anyone say anything like that to you in your life?
No.
Me neither.
But I'm worried that there's so many people that end up dead that supposedly know they're about to die.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
And they start telling people.
Yeah. But then also don't say who or why.
They just want to say, listen, hey, I don't want to give you the details.
Yeah.
But I
Anybody,
might die.
if you are in danger in any way and you start giving hints, please give all of the information.
Don't hint towards it.
Hint at it. Tell us. Tell those people.
Just tell people what's going on.
Yeah. So the daughter then asks, why would a 32-year-old woman in 1930 do not jump into my story and my notes? This is a direct quote. And I even had my closed captions on. And she says, why would a 31 or 32-year-old at the time woman in 1956 in a low crime area say something like that? Great question. We don't know. And I'm going to be honest with you, we never get the answer to that.
Nope.
But they kept it in the episode, so I'm going to make you guys hear it too. Over 3 decades ago, this became one of the most publicized and sensational stories in the area. Small town in the South, not surprised. To this day, the case is still talked about. Most of the people from the original story have since passed away, but the mystery lives on. Thomas was described as a quiet, hard-working family man who was active in his church and with the Boy Scouts. He was an engineer at a local chemical company. It is here in 1952 when he met Audrey. That is a direct quote from Unsolved Mysteries. That's the information they give us when they introduce Thomas to us. Audrey, a recently divorced mother, 15 years younger than Thomas, in addition to work, also the two shared a love for scouting. It seems, this is me saying, that they ran some sort of, I did some research. She ran the Girl Scout troop and he ran the scouting troop, and they planned activities together.
Well, they planned a lot of
They planned a lot of things together. Robert then tells us, and I quote, even though Thomas was married, he and Audrey fell in love. End quote.
End quote. Scene.
scene. Okay? But their romance was a deeply held secret. That's the very next line out of his mouth.
Well, that's because he was married.
What? No kidding. Deeply held secret. Yeah. I am unaware of a lot of people that have affairs that just tell everybody.
That don't try to keep it a secret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is how the story goes. Audrey told her family that she had to work on Saturdays at the plant. But in reality, she spent her time with Thomas.
Every Saturday.
Every single Saturday. He also told his wife the same story for 2 years. The quote, couple kept the same schedule, spending their day together religiously. They did not miss a Saturday. Around 7:30 on Saturday, November 24th, Thomas and Audrey met at a restaurant in La Plaza. Then drove 6 miles to a secluded lover's lane. It was also Audrey's birthday, which is why I quoted 32. Suck it, Turner. The next morning, after the father and son passed by the spot and discovered Thomas' body, the father immediately went to Mr. Herbert and, they say his name. It's spelled Hebert. However, on Unsolved Mysteries, they pronounce it as Hebert.
I know. I did notice that.
So, he's the sheriff.
Hey, Bear.
Exactly. Of St. John's the Baptist parish. So, St. John the Baptist is the name of the county.
Yeah.
Yeah. Parish, which is not a church, that's what they call counties in the South. You're welcome. Took me a while. I was so confused why they went to the local church to find the sheriff.
Hey, Pastor, can you come out? We got a murder.
St. John the Baptist parish. I was like, what kind of church name is that? Just trying to... any hoozles. I was like, maybe it was Sunday because they went on Saturday. I thought maybe Sunday morning, like he stormed into the church and was like, we got a murder. No, he went to the
When you're done baptizing people, can you come and look at the murder?
So he was actually the first to arrive at the scene.
The sheriff?
The sheriff, who was a big guy. And he's the one that sounds like the chicken on Looney Tunes. Little Horn, Big Horn. I was playing their voices back and forth to each other.
That's not the sheriff.
Oh, it wasn't the sheriff?
That was a reporter.
Okay. Sorry.
The sheriff, I think they'd said, had by this time
had passed away. Okay. So I had thought in my mind it was the sheriff, but I think it's because I was so distracted. Then the reporter, when he's speaking to us, if you close your eyes, it sounds exactly like little Big Horn, Little Horn, whatever that chicken is called. Sorry.
Foghorn Leghorn?
Foghorn.
I was gonna let you keep rolling out.
I know
those
you
names.
love to do that to me. Okay.
Break me off a piece of that.
Fancy feast. Investigators determined that Thomas had been shot in the head, okay, with a 16-gauge shotgun fired at point-blank range through the window. At first, the detectives believed that Audrey killed him in a lover's quarrel. However, after further examination at the scene, they realized that they had maybe been surprised together. This is what led them to believe that. Audrey's clothes were crumpled up on the floorboard. Keys were in the ignition, and the car seat in the back folded down into a bed, and it was in the bed position. So,
The bed position.
just
So they were necking.
they were necking. They were necking. It appears that she tried to flee the scene. At the same time, she spilled the contents of her purse. 50 feet away, her bare footprints were found along with those of heavy boots. 5 feet from the area, it appeared a scuffle had taken place. A set of keys were discovered, with the footprints, and a motorcycle track was on the road that got into the main highway. Her purse was never found, and there was no other physical evidence or any indication that the murderer had an accomplice. And that is important later. 10 hours later, police decide that the missing woman was actually Audrey, and at 7:30 at night, they found her abandoned car at the restaurant where the couple had met for breakfast the following morning. The keys at the crime scene belonged to her car. They unlock the car, get into the car, and I don't know why they share this information with us, but since they did, I'm going to share it with you. In the back of her car was a box, and they found versions of a song or verses of a song written from a musical, The King and I. She had handwritten them. They felt that this was important to share with you, so here we go.
Here we go.
Handwritten on a small filing card, it read like an obituary to her secret love. We kiss in the shadows. We hide from the moon. Our meetings are few and over too soon. We speak in whispers, afraid to be heard. When people are near, we speak not a word.
Scene.
No other traces of Audrey were found. To the shock of nobody, this becomes a big scandal. Many residents start to speculate on who had killed Thomas and what happened to Audrey. On December 6, 2 weeks after her disappearance, her former mother-in-law says that she received a strange phone call. The caller claimed to be Audrey. She said that she was in trouble and needed help, but then also hung up on her. At the same time, a waitress in New Orleans told the police that she had seen a disheveled woman matching Audrey's description at her restaurant, that she'd recognized her from seeing her picture in the paper. She appeared tired, and her clothes were shabby. She left the restaurant, according to the waitresses, after they saw her gossiping and looking at her. This was the last reported sighting of her.
I'd leave a restaurant too if I was sitting there and the waitresses were looking at me.
Well, especially it sounds like this was probably a woman experiencing some sort of either homelessness or, in a way, if she comes in dirty, disheveled, and just wanting to get a cup of coffee, and you got two women gossiping about you in the corner, staring at you, I think I'd leave as well.
Like,
yeah. Fast forward 20 years later, in 1980, several months before he died, an old deathbed confession happens. Ernest Acosta tells his family that him and his common-law wife, Caroline, who was dead at this point, had committed the murders and she had committed the murders, and he just helped dispose of the bodies. They lived on the edge of the swamps, less than a mile from the murder scene, and both had bad reputations. He apparently shot anyone that came too close to his property. He'd be a member of your club.
Well, he shot
of your association.
He didn't shoot at them. He shot in the vicinity.
He just liked to shoot off a shotgun in the air?
Well, he was just following Joe Biden's advice, okay?
I hope everyone who's listening to this has, because this is now like the third or fourth time, has seen that YouTube video because it's everything. Then we get an interview from Ernest's daughter, the man who made this deathbed confession. This woman tells us about her own father, that he was a mean person who did not respect other people and often threatened people with a gun.
Yeah,
this poor girl.
Yeah, this guy was clearly a miserable SOB.
Miserable human being. She also lets us know that Caroline, I'm guessing it's not her biological mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
She slept with a gun at all times, and she says, quote, they were the perfect pair.
Well, I mean, I guess they found each other, right?
Yeah. Cannot you imagine what that house looked like? Also, she tells us of at least 2 occasions where Thomas and Audrey, again, this is not substantiated by anything.
This is just a weirdo telling a story.
Yeah. that Audrey and Thomas came by the property several times to talk to Caroline, and that maybe they had a scuffle or that they were related of some sort.
She says that supposedly Audrey was related to Caroline in some way.
I could not find any information about that.
There's no facts to back that up whatsoever.
Yeah. But according to Ernest, the guy making the deathbed confession, he was visiting his children, according to him, Audrey was also related to him in some way. According to his daughter, Ernest was visiting his children on November 24th. However, late that night, he got a phone call from Caroline and immediately rushed home. He later claimed that she had killed Audrey and Thomas inside their home, and he and a random neighbor took Thomas's body back to the beach.
I'm here for it.
And then tied Audrey's body to an old Civil War cannon and dumped it in the swamp. She was later given a polygraph test, which indicated that she was telling the truth. So this is being told to us from the daughter that was told to her by her father at his deathbed confession after the wife, his common-law wife, had passed away.
Yes. The best part is that they bring a police officer who says he gives a lie detector test to the daughter who heard the confession, and she passed. Well, yeah, because all she's doing is telling you
she's got no reason
that a story
to lie.
was told to her.
Yeah.
So of course she's going to pass.
I think in a court of law, wouldn't this be considered hearsay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And lie detector tests are
invalid. Yeah.
They're garbage.
Yeah, they're garbage. So, deputy.
This is so confusing.
Yeah. So for everyone that is with us still, a couple having an affair, the man is shot, the woman disappears. No one knows to this day where she is. Randomly, 30-something years later, we get a deathbed confession by a man to his daughter, who then tells the world about her dad's confession. And that's where we are.
And he says that his common-law wife,
who is dead,
the lady living with him, she killed them, and he helped dispose of the bodies.
Yes.
And he just wanted everybody to know that.
Before he
died.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, current day for Unsolved Mysteries. Enter Deputy Sheriff Wayne. He joined the Sheriff Department of St. John the Baptist Parish.
Not the church.
Not the church. In 1983. He heard about this case and became intrigued. Since 1983, he has been conducting an unofficial investigation into the case on his own time. He believes that Audrey was indeed thrown into the swamp, likely tied to a cannon.
Nope.
He has combed the area with a metal detector, but has not found anything as of yet. He, being the deputy sheriff, believes that Ernest warped the truth when he told his daughter about the confession. He believes that Ernest was the actual killer.
He says Ernest was sitting in the woods watching.
He said Ernest was known to survey the area. He had actually, I guess, come after several local hunters and different
He'd run
things.
Hunters off.
Yeah. He suspects that he had this, because I will say, this couple never missed a weekend afternoon delay.
They never.
No. Rendezvous in the park every Saturday afternoon.
They were necking.
Breakfast first, fun after. Okay?
Okay.
He believes that he, only living a little ways away, had realized that there was a free show around the corner every Saturday.
And he's probably mad because Caroline, his common-law
She's
wife,
got a gun under the bed. So what are you going to do? Okay?
All right. This
So,
is getting out of hand.
This is a late evening recording on a weekday, so you can we are
Out of
tired.
hand. All right. He thinks that Ernest just killed him.
You can put the pieces together that this man.
We have no evidence that this happened.
No, but he is speculating that this creepy weirdo with a gun had been watching this couple for a while and decided that if he wanted Audrey for himself, knocks the guy in the back of the head with a gun through the window, which is a cowardly thing to do because, you get to, and then drag her out of the car and whisk her off to your, I can only imagine, swamp cabin, what that looks like inside, and then disposes of the body.
I don't know.
To date. Okay, so this
Update.
is where it gets confusing. Well, it's already been confusing, but this is what I found. Update. This case remains unsolved. No body has ever been found. Okay?
No cannon has ever been found.
No cannon has also ever been found. But in February of 2011, remains that are suspected to be Audrey's are found. Her granddaughter gave police her DNA in hopes of identifying the remains because she had actually had life-threatening cancer at the time. Okay? Sadly, this granddaughter passes away January 21st, 2019. With having given the DNA to whoever asked for it, and to date, no information has been given about those remains being found. They've never been identified. So I don't know if the DNA wasn't a match or if there's just such a backlog they haven't gotten to it yet.
It's probably costs money, and everyone that's pretty much involved with this case.
Yeah. So I will say, if you are interested, this woman's case is on the Jane Doe Project. There's several organizations that, identify different things like that. It doesn't seem like she has a lot of family members left fighting to get answers for that. However, 2011 was when these remains were found, and they have not officially been identified as anything.
So did you read about the thing that people do think there was a guy that they think might have done it?
No, go ahead and tell me that.
So in March of 1959, so it's a few years after, there's a man by the name of Rainier Beach.
No, that's where it was at. Rainier Beach, yeah.
Frank Martinez and Linnell Martinez, they were out in that same area, and someone came up and shot his wife, kind of the same way. They got his license plate.
Oh.
And Edmund Joseph Duhe, D-U-H-E, was arrested. They think it's possible he did it. This is all hearsay. Anyway, so he shoots the lady in the car.
Yeah.
Her husband's out fishing, and she was just hanging out in the car reading a book.
Interesting.
And the police end up catching him because they got his license plate. He ran back to his car and took off. Well, when they searched his house, they found like a bunch of lipstick, 5 women purses, and a bunch of other stuff.
What a
One
weirdo.
of the purses was a plain black purse.
Handbag.
That was supposedly...
That could have been similar to the one she had. The problem is all of her contents had fell out. So, her keys and any identification.
Here's the thing. There's no way. They're just saying because he did this to another person in the same area, kind of in the same manner. But
fair. That's a great...
It was with a handgun. It wasn't with a shotgun. So there are some differences. But then they also found other stuff. Mm-hmm. That's just,
Yeah. I don't know. Interesting. So...
No idea.
Yeah. All right. So that is the 3 stories from episode 21. And now I'm going to give you guys my plug about 5-star reviews to rate, review. You can find us on any streaming service. Okay. Follow us on Instagram, Unsolved Couple Pod. Find our discussion group on Facebook, which is Unsolved Couple Podcast. I post there every week. We'd love to have a great discussion. I'd love to know if you guys had any thoughts or feelings about today's episode, especially about Ben being a butthead and drinking his empty straw in the mic.
You're welcome.
Okay, are you ready for your question?
100%.
Is there any food from the 90s that has been either removed from shelves or a fast food chain that you would bring back if you could?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Give us a few.
Well, I can't. I give you one.
Okay.
The chili cheese burrito from Taco Bell.
Yeah, I've heard that one a few times.
Golly. I don't know what Taco Bell is doing. I don't know if they just think it's some sick game.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so good.
I can honestly say I don't think I ever had one of those, but I would love to because we make like a knockoff version, a copycat version here at the house, and it's pretty darn good. But I have heard this thing talked about by a few people.
I have heard that supposedly there are still some Taco Bells out there that serve it.
I even heard a rumor, I think, like a couple years ago that it was being brought back.
Yeah, I think they start that rumor just to be a-holes. But when we went to Taco Bell a couple months ago, I asked.
Yeah.
I asked the drive-thru, and I think the kid has probably never even heard of it.
Yeah.
Because it was gone before he was born.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I loved Taco Bell. Growing up, when I was a teenager, me and my friends would go to Taco Bell almost every day after school.
Yeah, Taco Bell was we hung out at a lot of Taco Bells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the old school one that had the sweet decoration.
Retro.
And then it had the down, where you had to walk down into the big, it had the glass ceiling and walls, and you had to take steps down into the eating area.
The dining area, yeah.
Yeah, and it had a bell on the top. It was awesome.
You guys had a fancy Taco Bell.
Well, it was an old one.
Yeah.
In Hillsboro, Oregon.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Okay.
And you'd scrounge a couple bucks, and I would get a chili cheeseburger. I get 1 or 2 chili cheeseburgers. I wish they would come back.
Yeah.
And they haven't. And I'm really upset with Taco Bell about it. But, and here's the thing. I think if it did come back, I don't know. In my mind, I think it's better.
Do you think it's better?
I think in my mind, it's better
in fairness,
than what it
you
is.
and I have had this experience when we were first married. There wasn't a lot of funds to go around, right? So we ate at some pretty low-priced places. And several times, and here's the thing, we're not ballers now, but we can like afford to eat like at a nicer restaurant every once in a while than we could when we were both working for tips. We've eaten at a few places. I'm like, oof.
Working for tips. You say that like we were on the street corner.
Well, Ben.
You say that like
Ben working for tips.
we're selling whatever we can.
We were working for
money.
dollar bills. I was a server and Ben was a
Sierra's
pizza delivery driver.
Golly.
Pizza delivery driver Ben and I was a server. We were working for tips. Yes. Any hoozles. We've eaten at several places. We've gone back to, we're like, this is not as good as we remember. And I just don't know if it's because,
But here's the thing. I love Taco Bell even to this day.
We
Anyways.
probably eat Taco Bell a few times a month.
All right. What's yours?
So I actually have one from Taco Bell too.
Taco Bell. If
Taco
anyone
Bell,
is
pay
listening,
attention. Well, first off, they redeemed themselves by bringing back the Mexican pizza. That was gone for a while, and it's back. So someone high up in Taco Bell is paying attention. But...
Well, they better be now because we're in New York and LA.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but someone in New York and Brooklyn and Los Angeles has downloaded our podcast. So we know people. We have power now.
We're coast to coast.
Yes. Actually, we're international because we've had a few downloads and across the pond.
All right.
Not a lot, but a couple. So, one, the double-decker taco.
Oh, I do love the double-decker.
For the people that don't know, the double-decker taco was a regular beef taco. I got mine supreme. Ben did not.
Hate sour cream.
I love sour cream.
Hate
so
it.
It's the hard shell with a taco. And then they would take a soft taco shell, lay the beans down, soft tortilla, and fold it
onto it.
So you had a double-decker taco.
Hence the name.
It was so good. And it was one of those items that if you ordered it, you had to eat it right away.
Right away, because it would get soggy.
It gets soggy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that's not fast food that I would bring back if I could is the original mother effing Butterfinger.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Okay, there's been several
that's not from the...
internet campaigns that have demanded that the original recipe of Butterfinger returns.
But it's not Nestle anymore. Nestle is the one that made the original
Nestle
Butterfinger,
can
and they sold it.
Suck a dirty stick because they sold. That was one of the number one candy bars.
It is the best was. It is not
it's
now.
It's disgusting now.
It's awful.
I don't know why. So it's like
is an
Ferrero Rochelle or
abomination.
whatever changed. Why would you buy a candy bar, the rights to it, and then change the recipe?
That's been around forever.
Yeah, The Simpsons promoted it. Get with the program. This makes me angry because
Sierra is sitting with her arms. She folded her arms and she sat up straight.
You guys, when I realized that this candy was going out, what did I do, Ben?
We bought 20 and put them in the freezer. We bought as many as we could.
Because they were disappearing. Because we went to our local mini mart, the Roadrunner, which you and I are there way too often.
I've spent so
they
much
know
money
our
there.
bus by name there. I went in there and I got a candy bar and a Diet Coke. And I got a Butterfinger because they're the best ones to eat the chocolate off and then just eat the crunchy part and drink a Diet Coke. And I was like, this tastes funky. I assumed that I had gotten a bad candy bar. So a few weeks later, I bought another one.
Well, you did get a bad candy bar.
Yeah, I did.
It's just a crappy candy bar.
And
all the
it
way
was
around.
garbage again. So I got online and looked it up and found that it had sold to another company and that company changed the recipe. And the Facebook comments on the Butterfinger Facebook page are awesome.
I got on
because nobody's happy about it. And Butterfinger refuses to acknowledge it.
Well, but they're still here. So some people are eating it.
No.
And if anyone out there is listening and
stop eating Butterfingers.
You eat the new Butterfinger, you are what's wrong with the world.
You are the problem.
You're the problem.
Look at yourself in the mirror.
Look at yourself in the mirror, and you should be disgusted
and
with
you
yourself.
owe us an apology.
Yeah.
But we were road tripping between here and Oregon or Utah or something right around the same time. So every time.
Stop.
And I told my parents because they had our kids and they were meeting us in Utah. We were driving to San Diego. We were all over the map for like 2 weeks. We were visiting multiple family members, your parents' 50th wedding anniversary. So there was a lot of driving and a lot of small town mini marts to stop in. And if they had Butterfingers,
real ones,
I bought the whole thing of them.
Well, that's why I said, because we were doing that, and I would flip it over, and if it said Nestle.
Yeah.
That's how you knew it was the old one. Mm-hmm. And so you grab all the Nestle ones and you buy those ones.
Yep. So.
Well, that went super too long.
I know.
Just about food. We clearly are hungry. We need to go eat something.
We need to go eat dinner and move on. But if anyone else is angry about Butterfingers, let me know.
And if you're not, what's wrong with you?
We have nothing.
I got no words for you.
You need to question yourself.
You should question your life choices.
Okay. Well, we will see everybody here again next Tuesday when Ben and I recap one of the original
did you want me to do this?
Gateway drugs. No, okay, go for it. Ben's going to sign us in. No, you signed us in, you signed us out. Go for it.
All right, we'll see you next week, everybody. Have a good one. We're out.